Okay, peeps, welcome back. So today we're going to be going over the Grayscale trusts and also GME and AMC and the T1 settlement rule and also the consolidated audit trail system, or known as the CAS system. So with that being said, let's get it. All right, so I don't want to go over these other things too long. We'll just kind of skim through it real quick. So we'll go to GME here. As you guys can see on the charts, once it pulls up, GME is moving up pretty substantially. So this was what it looked like at pre-market. It was at $26, and then this thing just absolutely shredded to the upside to $32. So massive, massive move here, up $1.12. Well, actually, I'm pretty sure it's more than $1.12, but yeah, it's up a lot in the last day. Let's just put it like that. So you can see GameStop and AMC are starting to break out. Same thing on AMC. It was all the way down here at 467, topped out at roughly about 530. So I'm just going to guess one of two things here. Okay, either the squeeze is happening and the price is going up because more people are buying AMC and GME shares, which excuse me, may not necessarily be the case because the ownership of AMC is like 98% retail. So if that is the case, my guess is that a lot of these shorts are trying to cover their positions, and we're starting to see the beginning phases of the squeeze. So that's GME and AMC. T1 settlement, pretty much in short, what this is it cuts the settlement time in half from T2 to T1. It's for anything that's listed on a traditional stock exchange, like anything you can buy on Fidelity, Vanguard, BlackRock, like wherever you buy your traditional finance related stocks and bonds. That's essentially what this T1 settlement is for. It cuts the time for settling sales on basically risk on assets that are not crypto related from 2 days to 1 day. So if you sell something today, theoretically the fund should be freed up and available to do whatever you want with tomorrow instead of having to wait till the following day. That's essentially what T1 is. I'm going to leave this in the description for you guys so you can check it out in your own time if you want to look. The important thing here is that it became effective on the 28th. So if I go over here, you guys can see that was about a week ago. Of course, we've been really busy, so I haven't had time to really address this. Also, there's this thing known as the CAT system. I'm not going to get super deep into what the CAT system is, but essentially the CAT system is more or less it's meant to be for market transparency. Pretty much in short, it's basically meant to keep people honest when it comes to their transactions. Now, whether this applies to the corporate level or the individual level, there's no reason it should apply to the individual level because retail investors are just retail investors. They're not professionals. They should not be held to these standards. So let me be clear about that. But you guys can read into it in your own time. But basically, just like if there's any glitches or any presumably, I don't know if this is actually true or not, but if there's any bad actors, so to speak, all of that stuff is exposed with the indoctrination of the CAT system. So if you guys really want to look into this, I'm actually not going to leave this in the description because it's a government website, but you can go look up CAT system for yourself. So you can see an example of people talking about the CAT system on X. So this is an AMC holder, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So it's basically an AMC ape. You can see that with the CAT system active, AMC ape trading glitches has the ape shares at over $1,000 a share, AMC over $600,000 a share, and AMC ownership showing that 98% of retail owns the float. So for those of you guys that don't know what's going on with AMC, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that hedge funds are presumably synthetically short selling 5x the float, and that's the reason why the price is getting held down. But if retail owns 98% of the float, and the short sellers want to cover their positions, it's going to be very hard for them to do so. The only way that they can do so is to buy back from retail investors, since retail investors own the vast majority of the float. So it's a problem, but that's not our problem because we're retail investors. That is the hedge fund's problem. So anyways, let's get into the Grayscale Trust. So LTCN, same as yesterday. Pretty much this area right here is going to be your support. So about 23 to 26 bucks. Targets we're looking for is the swing high at $55. So I'll give you guys the measurements, and then 75 and 100 to 135, somewhere in there. So 115% move. Let's see here. about 200%, and then 303 to about 420%. So the MACD death cross is still in place. The longer that this is in place, the more likely it is that this thing is actually going to crack the support and come down to the trend line. That's a possibility. If it does, don't be surprised. I mean, this could happen. I just want to let you guys know that ahead of time. There's no guarantee it has to happen, but it is a risk. So BCHG, MACD story, same thing as LTCN. So the candle is getting below these lows here. That's kind of a bearish sign, but again, we have 2 more trading days, so we'll see how that plays out. Support is between 10 and a quarter to about 12 and a half. Resistance up here 18 to 20, and then the swing high is at 24. So, I mean, now in terms of getting in at key zones, I would say now is as good a time as any. Of course, that's not financial advice, but to get to the top of resistance is 90%, and then all the way up to the swing high, 125%. HZEN getting a little bit more of a steep pullback here. That's not really surprising. Again, it could touch the trend line and then take off to the upside. That would be normal. So again, I mean, unless this thing comes down to support, which could happen, that's not a guarantee, but likely it is probably just going to bounce off of the trend line and head higher. So if I was going to get in this now, I would get in now, or potentially even wait for it to pull back to exactly the trend line or support zone. That's just my opinion. So from the current price to the swing high, 109% move. If it does pull back, let's say all the way down to support, to the swing high, about 173% move. So $4 to, or I should say 380 to 420 is going to be about your support there. So ETCG, it's mostly just going sideways. We're getting coiled in between this downtrend line, uptrend line. No real move yet. I would say that this box we're in is still serving as support. So that's 13 to 16. The target for the, what is this? Trying to think of what this target was for. Oh, right. So this is the target for the inverse head and shoulders pattern. So shoulder, head, presumably a shoulder, maybe a bounce off of this trend line here, and then boom, breakout. So that target's going to be, let's see here, all the way up at 2650. So from the current price to the target, about 86%. Let's just assume it gets all the way down to the bottom of support. It would be about 101% move. So again, your support is going to be between $13 and $16. ETH, this thing does look like it actually wants to break out. If I pop down here to the daily time frame, I suppose we could call this some kind of maybe bull flag. I don't really know if this would be considered to be a bull flag, but it could potentially maybe be a bull flag. But in my opinion, this thing's kind of ugly. I would say more like an ascending triangle, not so much like a bull flag. But then again, if I were to kind of just measure it like this could be a bull flag, so to speak. So this is the target for the cup and handle pattern. As you guys know, there is a cup and handle that had a breakout right here. If I were to measure this as a, let's say a bull flag here instead of a cup and handle, the target would be quite a bit lower. So about $57, $58 somewhere in there is what you'd be looking at. Either way, we're going to give you the measurements for both. So from the current price to cup and handle, about 370%, and to the bull flag, about 68% move. All right, let me actually tell you guys what support is. So support currently is $25 to about $29 as of right now. It could pull back. That's a possibility. So we're getting a bounce on the EMAs on Phil G. It's still below the trend line. This thing could be an inverse head and shoulders as well. In that case, if it is, I'll just give you guys the measurement right now so we actually have something to go with here in terms of a target. Let's say it breaks out somewhere over here because the right shoulder still has to form. So you'd be looking at a new all-time high of about $600, $610, somewhere in there. So if I measure it from the current price to the all-time high, you'd be looking at about 500% gain. Again, the pullback zone is pretty much where it's at right now at the EMAs, or maybe it gets down to the support at $30 to $40. Pick your poison on that. Go about how you guys want to do your strategy in your own time. So we got a breakout of GBAT, still looking very bullish, still sitting on the EMAs. It broke out of the trend line, sitting above support. Everything looks good. The question is whether it's going to go up or down. We don't know yet. This is a doji, so we have 2 more days to figure it out. But from the current price to the all-time high is about 115% move. Again, this candle wick up here is roughly about 32.5 bucks. If we get a pullback, maybe it pulls back into the trend line at about $10. Give you guys the measurement from that to the all-time high would be roughly about 220%. GLIV, for whatever reason, got completely slammed today. I don't know what's going on, but it's down 26%, as you guys can see. So we're getting a retest of the trend line. In the bull case scenario, theoretically, this should bounce and go higher. So if I measure it from the current price to the high, it's a 182% move. Again, the all-time high is at $80. And we already talked about this breakout and retest theory. So this is pretty much the ideal zone to get in on GLIV. Whether you guys want to or not, that's up to you. So G-Link, still looking like a hammer candle. That's very bullish, but we need to see a close on the weekly in order to confirm this. As of right now, it's still above the EMA, still broke the trend line, still above support. Everything looks very bullish as far as I can see. So 58% move up to a high of roughly about $223. If it gets a pullback, pulls back into the trend line at about 87, 88 bucks, you'd be looking at about 158% move. GSOL. So this thing also does have a hammer candle. As you guys can see, this one's green, not red. So again, we have 2 more days to play out on this candle, but if it is a hammer candle, I would say this thing's getting ready to break out to all-time highs, but again, 2 more days till confirmation. So 24% move from current price to the high up here, which is about $584. Again, if I do a very quick Fibonacci retracement from the swing high to the swing low, so swing high here, swing low at the wick, you guys can see the ultimate target, if it goes there, would be about $1,950 on GSOL. So GXLM kind of broke the upper trend line here, expecting this thing to definitely bounce off the lower trend line, most likely at about $31. So the previous high here is up at 70, so you're looking at maybe like, I don't know, maybe roughly around a 2.5 extra money basically in the perfect textbook scenario, so about 125% move. So Decentraland, Mana got the break of the trend line, still above EMA, still above support. Everything looks good. The only thing I do not like is that this does kind of look like a shooting star candle. If it closes the week out like that, I would say it's going to come back and retest support. But I do expect the support to hold. So from the current price to the high, which is at about $70, you'd be looking at 157% move. If we get a pullback into support, which is roughly about 18 bucks to the high is about 293%. And the support zone, again, is roughly about 18 to 20.5 bucks, if you guys were wondering. Okay, so Zcash, it does look like it wants to kind of come back and retest the support. So I'll just tell you guys right now, support is between 440 to about 510. The swing high up here at 10.25. From the current price to the high, you'd be looking at 94%, and from the bottom of support to the high, you'd be looking at about 136% move. So that's the Grayscale Trust. Now, there's a couple other things I wanted to go over before I close this video out. So you guys can see, number one, we believe in the ape movement, okay? We do. We think that GME and AMC are great American companies, and they should not be shorted into hell, and they should be able to be worth what they're worth. I mean, there's a lot of companies out there like AMC, like Cinemark. Let me actually see if I can find it. I don't know if it's on here, but yeah, there we go. So CNK. So you guys can see Cinemark is at, $16, $17 right now. So why not AMC, right? And again, it's coming off of highs of like way higher previously. Again, this was kind of pre-pandemic or whatever the case is, but it's just the idea that AMC is a lot cheaper than Cinemark. And GameStop and AMC, they're great American companies. So we believe in them. We're backing them with actual money. As you guys can see here, we have 650 shares nearly of AMC. And I actually went to GameStop today and pre-ordered a game from GameStop instead of actually pre-ordering the thing online from somebody else as a show of effort to support the actual company, which I will show you guys the receipt on X if you guys are wondering if this actually happened or not. Yes, it did. So anyways, this is the video on the Grayscale Trust. Hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see y'all later. Peace.